The Justice Department also has a similar responsibility to take this seriously, because this was an attempted coup.
The Washington Post has reported that Virginia Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, was much more involved in efforts to overturn the 2020 election than previously known. Specifically, there are text messages in the possession of the January 6th committee, which show Ginny Thomas coordinating with White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows on strategy when it comes to how to overturn the election, and suggesting that she was in touch with other members of the White House in that effort as well. There are examples of family members of Supreme Court justices being involved in politics. A lot of times, this will involve them being lawyers in their own right. For example, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's husband, Martin Ginsburg, was a renowned tax attorney whose cases sometimes overlapped with what the Supreme Court was looking at. We also have family members, including Ruth Bader Ginsburg's daughter, who have been involved in politics over the years. Generally, though, we haven't seen a situation like Clarence and Ginny Thomas, where the justice's family member is very deeply involved in political activism at the highest levels of government, meaning that there is often overlap between what they're working on and what their spouse or their family member might be ruling on in the nation's highest court.
Thank you. When judges do not base their decisions on neutral principles, these detrimental policies, with their judicial blessing, often persist for far longer than they otherwise would have.
There has long been a tension here between Ginny Thomas's work and Justice Thomas's work on the Supreme Court. I think what changed with this new report is that we found out not just that she is working on issues that pertain to things the court is doing, but that perhaps the justice was ruling on something and not recusing himself from a case that could impact what we know about his wife's own activities. Supreme Court recusals are a difficult subject because this is something that is solely at the discretion of the justices. They are given guidelines by which to gauge whether they should recuse. That guideline is generally whether their impartiality could reasonably be questioned. But we have seen numerous occasions over the last several decades and throughout history of justices seemingly having things that could reasonably call their impartiality into question and still moving forward with the case. In the case of Clarence Thomas, even unlike previous recusal controversies involving Justice Thomas, this is not a situation in which it's merely about how his impartiality might be questioned. It's about whether this might actually have benefited him and the people in his family because of the implications of how he voted. It's also worth noting here that the vote that Justice Thomas took, the key vote here, didn't actually wind up mattering. He was the only dissenting justice in the case that gave the January 6th committee those records. And so that means eventually we could learn, to the extent those records do reference Ginny Thomas and do involve potentially her communications, at which point I think the conversation about whether the justice should have recused himself will take on a whole new life.
There's enough evidence already, I believe, that he should recuse himself.
Lots of Democrats are calling for Justice Thomas to recuse himself or saying that he should have recused himself in the past. There certainly could be other issues coming up when it comes to the January 6th committee, including how to handle would-be witnesses who are refusing to testify. Democrats in some cases are calling for Thomas's impeachment. Just a few cases, not a whole lot at this point, and that movement hasn't really taken off. Republicans have also been asked about this and have basically punted in a way. They've said that this is up to Justice Thomas.
He's a jurist who has a lot of integrity, and I think he will make that decision.
Which it certainly is, but they have generally avoided talking about the propriety of him staying on this case. And we do have other Republicans that basically say there's no there, that Justice Thomas is a principled man and that he should be allowed to make this decision for himself.